Y'all really need to check in on those middle classers, because I'm telling you, I just went to the grocery store. I bought about 5 days worth of breakfast, lunch, and dinner, some fresh produce, maybe a bag of chips and a gallon of juice. And let me tell you, $400. What? Half my check gone. You know, we make too much to get any EBT with any kind of government assistance, anything. I'm telling you, it's a hard life out here, especially for those middle class people. So y'all need to check in, because we out here hurting, okay?
I don't want to get real political or anything, but you guys got to check out this video.
I went to Target yesterday and bought 2 bottles of hair product, a bottle of shampoo, a box of trash bags, and 1 Halloween decoration. $70 on my Target Red card. That's with my 5% discount. My son's looking at the cart and going, Mom, this was $70. We didn't even get anything. Yeah, I know, kid. And he doesn't even remember a time when you could get a 2-bedroom apartment in a decent area of town for $600 a month. Now a 1-bedroom apartment in a mediocre part of town is $2,000 a month. Gas is $5.49 a gallon. It cost me $65 to fill up my tank. Before COVID, my grocery bill per month was $350. Now it's $600 a month, and I buy the exact same amount of groceries. This shit is out of control. What does the bourgeoisie think that the outcome of this is going to be? They cannot possibly believe that extracting every last dime out of the working class by inflating all of the prices and paying us poverty wages is a sustainable economic model. And the thing is that I could be mad at the bourgeoisie all day long, but they are doing exactly what is expected. They are greedy sociopaths. This is what they do. I am more mad at Americans because instead of uniting against this common enemy who is robbing us blind, we are fighting over whether or not drag queens can read books to children. At what point are we going to stop taking this shit lying down, put our foots down, and say, fuck this, and not allow it anymore? We cannot even afford to live in this country. We can't even afford to die in this country. The Republican Party is bought and paid for by the same greedy sociopaths who are robbing you, me, and our families blind every day. They are manipulating you into believing that they are going to save you from the problems that they created in your life. They have not walked a single inch in your working class shoes. They have no idea the struggle that you and I go through every day in this economy just to feed our families and keep them safe. They are gaslighting you into believing that I am your enemy so that you're distracted while they continue to do their dirt behind your back, because they know that if you knew what they were doing, you wouldn't vote for them anymore. Why are you listening to them? The Democratic Party, with the exception of a very small few, is filled with weak and spineless politicians who placate to everyone just so that they can get reelected because they want to maintain some semblance of power in Congress. Why are you placing all of your faith and hope in this party to save us? Your religious leaders are funded by the same corporate sponsors who have bought your politicians, and they are weaponizing your faith against you so that you are distracted by a made-up enemy, your gay neighbor or your liberal coworker, so that you are not paying attention to the extreme financial crimes that they are committing against all of us right under your nose. In the richest country in the world, 500,000 people are homeless when there are more than enough homes to house them, and millions of children are hungry or food insecure, having their one free meal taken away from them at school. 10-year-olds are being forced to bear the child of their rapist. People are rationing their insulin and dying because they cannot afford health care. The water's polluted, the air is polluted, the soil is devoid of nutrients because we have oversaturated it in pesticides. We're not going to be able to grow our own food in the coming decades. The planet is literally dying. And they are putting hotels up in space and telling you that they can't afford to pay you a living wage, and you are believing them. This period is going to go down in the history books as one of the most epic failures that America ever allowed to happen. Future generations are going to study this time in history and ask themselves, why did they not do anything? How could they not see? And if you're sitting behind your phone right now and thinking to yourself, it's not me, it's those goddamn weirdo trans kids, then you are the people that they will be talking about. Wake the fuck up.
Guys, she spoke nothing but facts, especially when she was speaking on the higher costs of just housing. You can't even afford to live in the hood anymore. I remember back in the day when you can find a very nice 2-bedroom apartment for $600 a month. But it's very sad that a lot of Americans have been pushed away from the dream of actually owning a home because the real estate market is just so high.
At this point, I think we might be living at our in-laws' house until, we get old and gray, because the housing market is absolutely ridiculous. It's so sad because back in the day, you're able to just go to school, get a good job, get married, be able to buy a house, start a family, and possibly be able to stay part-time at home even with the children to help raise them. Now it's like, no, you get married, where are you living? Maybe we're gonna live in a shoebox, maybe we're gonna be homeless living on the street, because why is a 1-bedroom, 1-bath like $800,000? Like, I'm just trying to wrap my head around how things are going right now, because it's like, it's pretty hopeless for this generation, for us that are trying to start our lives and get a place. It's like, rent is absolutely insane. You can't save any money to be able to buy a place. They don't want us to own anything, and they literally want to like destroy your dreams of starting a life. It's just so embarrassing.
So on today's episode of Why Are They Charging That Much for Rent, my downstairs neighbor, okay, exact same floor plan that I have. I signed my lease in January, and I know there's gonna be people that's like, that's cheap or that's expensive, but whatever. 2-bed, 2-bath, 1,100 square feet. I pay $1,639 before they add stuff. But my base rent is $1,639. After everything, it's $1,715. That's what I pay every month. Okay, so $1,639. So my downstairs neighbors lived there for like 2 months and then moved out. I would love to know the tea on that, I would. And if you've been here since my Florida days, I'm not talking about the downstairs neighbors that called the cops. That's a whole separate story in a whole separate state, okay? Now we're in Texas. So anyways, downstairs neighbors move out. They moved out in Florida too, but also Texas. And I'm like, so I go on the website to see how much they're renting that apartment for. Keep in mind my $1,639. $2,247. I know every realtor's argument's gonna be like, yeah, but it's the summer, it's a peak time to move. Is that not like a $600 increase in the last 5 months? I'm gonna need to have like a chat with whoever signed that lease, genuinely. Because you're getting robbed. They haven't even moved in yet. I don't know if anyone has, but it was the only 2-bed, 2-bath apartment open for $2,247.
This morning, I read that if your parents make $100K 40 years ago in 1983, then you'd have to make $292,000 in 2023 just to have the same purchasing power adjusted for inflation. $300K is the new $100K.
Wow. I remember back in the day, $100,000, you was almost considered rich. But unfortunately today, that's basic normal income. That's nothing.
Guys, talk about Halloween, talk about horror, talk about scary. 80% of Americans have run out of money. Okay, the Federal Reserve just published a study stating that only 20% of the richest Americans still have excess savings after the pandemic. And the other 80% have less cash on hand than before the pandemic began. Households saved a combined $2.3 trillion during the various pandemic lockdowns. Like, the savings rate was going up, and it's estimated that 1.3 trillion of that has now been spent.
Listen to me. I will never be able to afford a house. I will never be able to afford a house.
Home prices are rising nationwide as inflation remains stubborn and mortgage rates remain high as Americans compete for fewer available homes. Home prices in March were up 0.4% compared to February. Now that's the second month in a row that we have seen gains.
My parents' house that is $195,000 back in '96 is now worth like $500,000 to $700,000. My children will never be able to have the life I live because I can't afford to do it.
I don't think any of us thought when we were growing up that owning a home would be a luxury. Like, maybe we thought it would be a bit difficult, but not like a luxury that basically only the rich will be able to afford.
No one that works a full-time job should be facing homelessness. And that's what my family is facing right now.
Everybody in America kind of knows, like, it's over. Like, there will be no recovery. Like, this is not like the other times. This ain't like 2008 where, oh, we'll crash and then we'll get back up.
Because right now, this economy, this world is set up to make average American families fail.
If I can get my hands on a nice lump sum of money, baby, I'm buying land in another country and I'm out of here because there's nothing left here but struggle.
And also, this is another reason why men are leaving the country. Do you guys know how many men I met in Thailand who have just like sold their home in the States and moved to Thailand or the Philippines? All of these men was talking about the fact that the cost of living was going up. It was getting ridiculous. And they got sick of trying to keep up with all the materialistic stuff that they had gained. A lot of these guys took everything in their house. They sold it. They had yard sales or whatever. And they sold their house and they just left. They was tired of chasing the American dream, trying to keep up with the Joneses, the whole nine. This was another reason why passport men movement grew so fast. It wasn't just because of the women. It was for the better cost of living in other countries.
When are we going to get back to the days when somebody can support themselves and live comfortably with just one income? I have a full-time job that years ago I could have raised a family on what I make. And it's like now I have to do side hustles, to supplement my income because it's gotten so fucking expensive to live.
It's crazy you have to work like 75% of your life, like donate, give up 75% of your time pretty much just to literally survive, just to live. Not to live comfortably, not to live well, just to live.
Then it's like I woke up all of a sudden and my insurance has doubled, food has fucking tripled, gas is so expensive, electric bill over double, my fucking rent went up. I can't be the only one that's drowning.
Everybody is going through this bullshit. Everyone. Can't go to Canada, can't go to the UK. Everyone is dealing with just not being able to sustain life.
I've never had so little money in my entire life. All of my money goes towards my bills and food for me to eat. And half the time, I have to choose between filling my car with gas or eating.
Wish that I could just have a job and do my job and go to work every day and it would just pay for life. It would pay for a roof over my head, it would pay for food on my table, it would pay for medical bills, it would pay enough for me to save money so I could retire one day, basic things.
I am 36 years old and I have nothing to show for 20 plus years of work.
That's another thing. Inflation is out of control, and yet every bar or restaurant or shop I go to is packed. It's the weirdest thing to me.
Did you know 70% of Americans don't even have $1,000 in their savings account? Well, why does that matter? It matters because if you don't have $1,000 in your savings account, then you need to budget your money better. The expenses should be last. That means you're living above your means.
I don't need to budget. Prices either need to go down or my pay needs to go up. I think I'm someone who's fairly reasonable with my spending. I pay my bills. I take care of my needs first and foremost. I take care of my wants within a reasonable parameter. I don't spend exorbitant amounts of money to the point where I need to track how much I'm spending because money's just flying out of my ears. Things just cost too much. So again, my pay needs to go up.
Literally everything he just said was facts. Because at this point, I think we past surviving. We fed, everybody's fed up, bro. Everybody is fed up. They tell you to go to college, you go to college. You get debt, you come out of college, you can't even find a job because you don't got experience. Then they talking about internships without pay. When I found out, I was like, what? I'm giving you time and you're not paying me? No. People are really out here contemplating if they should pay the bills or they should pay the medicine. It's absolutely absurd that we're living in times where at this point you got to pay to die. God forbid you break your arm or you go get a checkup at the ER. Then the old heads are absolutely clueless because they're telling you, oh, you're just lazy. This generation is just lazy. Go out and get a job. The whole American dream. Stop. Because if the next old person that comes to me and tells me that, oh, it's because I'm lazy, I'm not trying hard enough, or you see how dumb you sound. Now you got to get slapped because we're not living in the same time. So I'm gonna need you to wake up. Wake up.
The government really won't admit this, but I think we may be in a recession right now, to be honest.
Great. So our 2 bedrooms right now, they have no view, no updated appliances. Neighbors are a little loud. Those are going for $3,900 right now, which is a steal. We do ask that you make 5 times the rent. So at $3,900, you need to at least make $20,000 a month in this economy, which is great. To rent our semi-luxury apartments with loud neighbors, roaches here and there, you will need a 760 credit score or higher. Higher is better. And we also have no security cameras in the garage. So if your car gets broken into, we don't care. We do also require an $8,000 security deposit that you may or may not get back. Leaning towards the may not. We do also require first and second month's rent to move in. For our lease terms, we do have a 36 and a 48. We do need to see your entire lease's rent inside your bank account to move in. So that'll be $3,900 times that 36-month lease on top of that. So we'll need to see $140,000 inside your bank account right now to move in. Also need the $8,000 security deposit on top of the first and second month's rent to move in.
I think a lot of these people out here that are living on their own, living separately from their family, they got to learn how to start sharing the cost. If that can be housing, transportation, utilities, multifamily living should be a thing. I think this is going to be solved if people just found a way to cohabitat and stop being so selfish and don't want to live with other people, because that's the root of it. Everybody want their own space. People don't want to live with each other, but to really cut down on all the expenses that's going up in the U.S., people really need to take their entire family and find a way for everybody to move in together and just share the cost of living.
Okay, y'all. So I got approved for a house, the house that I wanted. And their website says, like, our security deposits start at 1.5 times the rent. So I'm like, okay, I've been saying I'm gonna need $4,000, but why did they say they want a 3 times the rent deposit from me and a $300 fee just because my credit score is low? And I've been working on my credit, so I did obviously get approved, but it ain't that high right now. And I'm just sitting here like, if I have $6,000 to just give right now, because when you take the offer, they want you to send the money. Lord Jesus. And now I'm at the point where I don't know what to do, y'all. Like, I really don't know what to do. Like, are we just gonna stay in our car a little bit longer? Maybe.
What is inflation like in your area? Because I thought it was bad in my area, and we just traveled to Maryland, and holy crap, I couldn't afford to breathe there. Like, I knew inflation was bad in, like, San Francisco, DC, Manhattan, things like that. Like, yeah, they're expensive places to live. And to be honest, I didn't really understand when I thought people were being, like, hyperbolic when they're like, I'm never gonna be able to afford a home, like, ever. And then when I was in Maryland, I hopped on Zillow, like everybody does. And, like, my house, a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,200 square feet, pretty modest, would be double what it would be in Maryland. So here's some references for what things cost where I live. My 1-bed, 1-bath apartment, that was probably, like, 1,000 square foot and 3 blocks from the beach, was about $1,100. We bought our home for $280, which is honestly one of the cheaper homes on the island. Gas, I think it's just under $3. I don't know. I don't really pay attention when I get gas. Eggs are back down to like $1.50, $2.
Wait, hang on. You mean to tell me that poverty wages are terrible for the economy? You don't say! Because when people don't have disposable income, they can't afford luxuries and non-essentials, right? Right. Which means paying people the bare minimum to maximize corporate profits and, turn CEOs into billionaires in the long run is a terrible fucking plan. That plan that trickle-down economics came up with, which, by the way, trickle-down economics used to be known as horse and sparrow economics that caused the Great Depression back in the 1920s. It also caused the Great Crisis before that.
saying that apartments are $1,200.
Yeah, I'd say apartments are $1,200.
No, they are not. They are not $1,200. Stop saying that. That is not the median price of the nation's apartments.
I'll agree with that. The median is closer to $1,700 in the United States.
I cannot find a studio apartment, not only in Boston, but the surrounding Massachusetts areas, less than $3,600.
Okay, so I put $3,600 or less in Boston, and it came up with over 4,000 results.
But Brittany, they're luxury apartments. No, they're not. No, they are not. I know where they are. I know the surrounding areas.
Just to make sure we're clear, if your apartment has a rooftop pool on it, it's a luxury apartment. If your apartment has a state-of-the-art gym with a Peloton in it, it's a luxury apartment.
There is no explanation why in Boston there should be any two-bedroom that is $14,000.
And now she's just cherry-picking to prove her point. The median rent might not be $1,200, but it's also not $14,000 either. Has housing gotten ridiculously expensive recently? Yes, but instead of blaming things that you can't really control, there are things you can control. I'm 28 now and I've lived with some sort of roommate for over 10 years now. I also live in a 100-year-old building with my fiance. It's a 1-bed, 1-bath apartment, no amenities. If you want to live in one of the most expensive cities in the country with a rooftop pool and no roommates, you're gonna have to pay for it.
These prices are wild. In 2007, my first apartment was $355 a month.
Y'all, why are apartments so expensive? If you're in an apartment or know someone that is, listen up.
But the truth of the matter is, I do think the American people need to take a bit of responsibility for this. Consumer spending in the States is just ridiculous. We got to take more responsibility in this. The things that people think they need in their daily life and they don't need versus someone that grew up in the 1920s or the 1950s. We didn't need all these extra entertainment stuff to live off of. I'm talking about people who order Starbucks coffee for $12 or people who drive fancy nice cars, and by driving those cars people are spending up to $1,500 just on a car payment. That's almost like a mortgage price. So people need to learn the difference between what their needs and wants are and just cut back from there and just do without, like Gary Vee be talking about. Just go ahead and eat for a couple of years, and then when you get where you want to be after a couple of years, when you fix your financial situation, then you can kind of splurge a bit and have those things. But we live in the now generation. People just want things now. But anyways, that's all I got in this video. You guys drop a comment down below and let me know what you think about what's going on with the US financial markets. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like the video. Thanks for watching to the end. I will see you in the next one.